Bruce Smith is a boys basketball great, coaching 22 years at Whitmer and 4 years at Southview before retiring, although recently coming out to coach at Swanton. Mason Lowry sat down with one of the top coaches of the BCSN era, presented by First Solar, to hear his story.
I want to go back a ways, Bruce, to Crystal Falls, Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula.
Okay.
Iron Mountain, not too far away, pretty remote areas. How in the heck did, in two graduating classes, this part of the country produce yourself, Steve Mariucci, and Tom Izzo? Three great coaches at three tremendous levels of competition. What is it about that area and growing up there in that place and time that put you guys where you are today?
Well, there's not a whole lot to do up there, to be honest with you. Athletics were real big in every high school, and the two guys that you mentioned, Izzo and Mariucci, went to Iron Mountain. Graduated in 1973. I graduated from Crystal Falls, which is about 25 miles up the road, in a year later in 74. My father was born and raised in Iron Mountain, and his best friend growing up forever was Carly Izzo, who happened to be Tom's father.
Wow.
So I've known those two guys off and on probably since about 1968 or 69 when we started to compete Crystal Falls against Iron Mountain and things. But those guys were a heck of a lot more successful than I've been, but they made their niche at the college and professional level, and I've stayed at the high school level.
You're the son of a longtime high school coach. You're now the father of a basketball coach as well, and Ryan, whom we got to see play on BCSN in the early years of the network. How gratifying has it been for you to see him thrive?
Really rewarding. Growing up, I wasn't sure all the time that he was actually listening to what I was telling him. But, basketball really never clicked with him. His sister, as you know, was really, really good at a young age.
Yes.
And Ryan did not want to be known as Nicky Smith's brother. He wanted to carve his own niche, so he was real big into baseball and good at it. And just probably maybe in the 8th or 9th grade, something clicked where he said, no, I'm going to go the basketball route. And he started to really, really put time and energy into it, and was fortunate to grow probably about 13 inches in a span of just a little over a year.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, from 5'2" to 6'3", which certainly helped.
Mm-hmm.
But he put incredible amount of time in it and was very fortunate. He picked the right college to go to. He loved Purdue, loved Matt Painter, got a great opportunity, and he's had a real good life based on the experiences he's had here moving forward.
When you've watched him coach, how much Bruce Smith is there in Ryan?
Actually, I think he's a lot smarter than I am. I didn't have the experience of playing for a Matt Painter at the highest level in the Big Ten. And, he has taken some of the things that, I have taught him or that he's learned from me. But early on in his high school career, he was a little bit too emotional, and I can say that I was the same in certain circumstances. But, I've watched him and observed him as a head coach in the TBT, which, as you know, is in the summer. And he's had the good fortune to coach the men of Mackey, I think, for 3 years now. And I'm extremely impressed with the job that he's done in relating to players and understanding circumstances, working officials, and that type of thing. So his mother and I are very proud of him.
I know he learned that working officials bit from his dad. I've seen you do that a time or two.
A couple times.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of you on BCSN in the first 20 years of this network. You've had some really talented teams at Whitmer and Southview and now at Swanton. Over the last 20 years, do you have any teams that really stand out? I guess not necessarily in terms of wins and losses, but groups that you look back on with particular fondness?
Yeah, not to slight, teams that we certainly can't mention in the time frame we have here, but the first time we went to the state semifinals in '08, it was a little bit special because my son was on the team, and the class of '08 at Whitmer was off the charts good in basketball and football and life, in track and field. They were just really, really high quality human beings, and at the time I think we were probably 6-6 at one time in the league with really no thought of making a tournament run that deep. And in a sectional final, we're down 2 with about 5 seconds to go against St. Francis, and I got a 42% free throw shooter on the line. He's got to make them both or we're toast. And he happened to make them both, and we got through that win and just kind of got hot and made it all the way to Columbus, where Newark put an end to that season. But it would that year was really rewarding. Obviously, the year that Nigel was a junior and we lost in a championship game to Pick Central. But bringing in Leroy Alexander that year, and how was that going to mesh? And
right,
I was very fortunate to have really good football players on that team, and basically what they were not just football players, they were competitors. And they took that competition and that success they had on the gridiron right into our year. And, we made that deep run. And maybe the third and final team was the second year I was at Southview. We were 24-0 at one time, and had a transfer in from Philadelphia named Ben Casanova. And
what a player he was.
He was a really good player. In fact, there's a little connection there because his father and I were best friends in Crystal Falls. His father was a graduate of Crystal Falls in 1979. So I had some knowledge of Ben, and I think they basically came back to this area from Philly to play for me, and that was really gratifying. But we had a good group at Southview, a group that really got along. I tell the story, we'd be done with practice at 5:30 in the afternoon, and I'd go home and I'd eat dinner, and then I'd maybe come back for a girls' game at 7, walk in the locker room, and the top 5 or 6 or 7 guys on that team were still there.
Wow.
Just having a good time, talking, shooting the breeze, just having a good time with each other. And I think that was a big reason why we're so successful that year. It was really a tight group of young men.
How much good do you think our network has done for basketball in the city of Toledo?
Oh, an awful lot, not even to mention the fact that sometimes before huddle and that kind of stuff, that was one of the ways that we scouted a lot of times.
Oh, sure.
Because if I'm playing Friday and Saturday night and my opponent's playing Friday and Saturday night, I can't see that game, and we'd put it on BCSN. It wasn't ideal like it is with huddle now, but I think what it did is it grew the game, because people knew that, hey, our game's going to be on Tuesday night, our game's going to be on Thursday afternoon, and we really look forward to that. And to be honest with you, not to give you undue credit, because you certainly deserve it, but the commentating was very professional.
Thank you.
I compliment you and Rhett and all the guys that have preceded you. I mean, it was really, really well done.
That's so kind of you. Thank you.
Oh, it's the truth.